So today is going to be the data visualization seminar, and the data visualization is something that it's quite a hot topic these days because a lot of people is studying a lot of things related to algorithms and how to treat the data, but sometimes we tend to forget that whenever we treat the data, then we need to show it to someone. We need to create a report, usually to our boss. So a good way to do it, to know the theoretical better approaches to visualize data and to create graphs and to create plots, it's something that sometimes feels like obvious, and you may consider that this lecture is going to be a bit obvious, specifically at the beginning, but it's super important. So today we are going to take a look at it, and then we are going, I mean, if you consider it obvious, perfect. But if you don't, I think it's super worth it. And if it's obvious as well, super worth it. So this is the overview for today. First, 10 minutes in which we are going to introduce it and we are going to hype it a bit. We are going to talk about what is data visualization, why it is important in nowadays in the context of the big data, why it's important for you personally, and some examples. Then we are going to understand, this is a bit more about psychological part, how to tell a story based on the data and the visuals, because we are humans, I guess. So we are prone to bias sometimes, and if we know them, we can take profit out of them, which could be considered a bit mean, but that's the real world. So we need to know it, okay? And then we are going to take a look at some concepts and design. This is theory. So some of them feel very obvious, some others don't. And then some visualization options, that is, depending on the type of data that we have to show, then which graph is the best. Some tips, this is the most important part of this, and then some tools in which we can create dashboards, graphs, or business intelligence in general. Okay? So this is going to be today's lecture. First, what is the data visualization? I know every lecture almost starts with talking about the big data and what it is, and this is just a curiosity, but it's super important to talk about big data because one of the reasons why it's important is that since the 80s, in which storing 1 gigabyte of data cost $500,000 euros, to today, which costs 3 cents, I mean, this is huge. And a lot of businesses are storing their information because it's super cheap. And they don't know if it's worth it or not. But we as data analysts, we need to discover that. Okay, so this is going to be our job. That's why. So the problem is that sometimes data could be a bit obscure, specifically raw data, right? So there is a need for the data visualization because there is a need for interpretability of the data. So as data scientists, we cannot say that this is not our thing. It is, and it's very relevant because we could have performed a really good job, but in the end, if we presented bad, wrong, everything failed. So super important. I'll let you hear the formal definition of data visualization, which is the process of taking raw data, transforming it into graphs, charts, and images, and to explain the numbers and gain insights. I don't really like this, because in my opinion, this could be processed data. However, well, this is a formal definition. There could be more, but this is the one I took. So now we know what is data visualization. Why is it important? This is a bit like pitching it, elevating it. Well, we want to make the understanding information something easier, something better. Just imagine how tough sometimes is to read a table, or sometimes is to read some kind of report. It's quite boring, and it could be compiled, it could be compressed into one visual, and we get the same information very quickly. That's why it's also a very important thing. However, it's important as data scientists not to consider the people like stupid in the sense that we need to be super obvious in our visuals. We can rely in the ability of the people to scan, to take a look at the graphs, to understand. So it's something in between. Something in between. It's something like it should be obvious, it shouldn't be insulting, and it shouldn't be hard like a report, okay? And this is a personal piece of advice I wanted to share with you. Because I know, because I have some friends, I've been involved in a process of interviewing for hiring some people in technical interviews that you may find yourselves now in a technical interview in which if you decide to spend 10 minutes just by showing the data in a better way than just delivering the data. So if you are asked to, please give me some, write some piece of code in which you have to do something, blah, blah, blah. You can create in 10 minutes some visuals and immediately you're going to be on top candidate, just because of doing that. Just 10 minutes of your time, really worth it. And if it's a good visual, much better, of course. Okay, this is why. Now, how can we create value for the audience with the visuals? I've spotted 4 different ways. First, because we make the data easier to digest. This is, again, I know it seems repetitive, but I want to point it out. Nobody wants to read a report. I'm sorry. And this is even a more important thing these days, in which the attention span is decreasing every day. So we want to have something like this: top 5 websites on the internet. Yeah, the 3 important ones: Google, YouTube, Facebook, immediately spotted. If I want to take a deeper look, yeah, I can go to the bubbles and say, yeah, okay. But immediately I've spotted important information with this plot. And this is a very visual plot. Like in the center, the big bubble. And then in the corners or in the perimeter, we get the rest of the bubbles. Very good. Visualization data also helps discovering patterns, patterns. How 2 variables could be linked. Imagine trying to find this pattern in a table. Poof. It's a bit more difficult, but it's immediate in this graph. Here we are seeing, depending on the horsepower of your car, how many gallons, liters per mile can you make. So the less manpower, horsepower, the more kilometers per liter. Immediately, good. Third, it helps to compile all the information in one place. This is important for 2 reasons. First, because when we compile information as workers, me compiling some information, you compiling some information, then you digest it, and it is easier for you to present it in the future because you have treated the data, because you have made the effort of compiling the information. And second, obviously, you have compiled information that you can share with your boss, with your whoever, in your master thesis, whatever. And 4, the visual nature helps to understand and to remember. That's super important. Humans are visual. That's a bias. Now you know it. Try to always have visuals on your data. A map, super easy. So in here we are seeing the temperature in different regions of Spain. It's much easier to remember. South, hot; north, cold. Perfect. Imagine finding this in a table with the names of the provinces. I don't even know where the provinces are. Okay, south. And then if I want to take a deeper look, yeah, what's going on in the islands? Hot. I can remember islands hot. Yeah, easy. Cool. So now we know how to create value. Let's give some examples. You're going to consider this very repetitive. I swear the lecture improves in the second part. So 5 examples that we use every day. Calendars. Maybe you like to use calendars in paper, but I feel this is much easier in a very quick site, I can take a look of things that I have to do today. I can do it in a paper, but no, I can get some other insights and some other features based on these calendars, for example, Google Calendar. Or again, pinpointing the relationships with scatter plots, or predicting in time. Have you ever used the, what was the name? Prophet library in Python? Do you know what it is? It's super useful, and it gives you some predictions, some forecast based on points. Like this is true values and then some prediction. So this is another way. I mean, Prophet is to do the data science, not to show it. I just wanted to ask. But another use case is predicting. In a very quick site, we can have a histogram, and then we can know when some event is likely to happen more often. Perfect. I don't know what this graph is, but here something happens more times. And then interpret value and risk. So we have the Gauss bell, and we know that. Oh, this is interesting. We are going to look at this, but it's not. I mean, it's something that whoever did this graph thought that the risk should be colored in red. This is again a bias. We are going to talk about this in the colorimetry part, but cool, interesting. And the blue one is like the good thing. Okay? And we didn't even know. I don't need to read the legend. I know this is bad. We are biased in that sense. Okay. So this is the introduction. Any question? I think this is not deep yet. So the second part of the class is that we are going to learn how to tell a story based on the data. But this is the psychological part. We need to make sure that we know the bias to tell a good story. Usually what you're going to find is that the flow goes like this. Your boss is going to come to you and say, okay, you have to create some report based on some data. Then you will have to perform your data science, your algorithms. Then you will have to choose a visualization tool, which is something today we are going to take a look. And then you have to present the results. That's the problem. Okay, we are going to focus on this part. The rest of the master was based on this. Today, it is this, presenting the results. So the first thing that you have to do when you have to deliver some results is to ask yourself some questions as much as you can and try to write them down. Some typical questions. Who is the audience? Are they, I don't know, knowledge audience? Are they teenagers? Are they students? Am I required to talk about deep details on my data, or is it just a quick view? Is it going to be 5 minutes meeting, or is it going to be 1 hour? Do I have to highlight the trends or provide KPIs? Do you know what KPI is? Okay. This is very used in the industry, and it means, I think this is the meaning. But I mean, the important thing is that it's a number that shows some value about something, but just a number. It's not a graph. It's just a pinpointing one number. Okay, it's how did we perform the last month in the revenue of our sales? 20% better than the year than the last year. That's the KPI. Sales over the last year, 20%. One KPI. Okay, that is. It's very used. KPI. That concept. So highlight trends. That is how we perform historically, or how we perform like one-off this year. Or is the data going to be consumed in a computer or in a presentation? Are they going to print the presentation? Are they going to read it in their laptop, in their phone? Super important. Super important. You need to answer these questions. Okay? Then, now that we know the first thing that we have to do, answer these questions, we need to understand what is a good story. So usually analysts, pure analysts, believe that a story is just showing data. But in my opinion, and I wanted to tell you, if you want to share with me my opinion, but if not, it's okay. This is what the lecture is going to be about anyway, is that humans respond to emotions. So the visualization can help to make sure that the data gives the right impact. But what is the right impact? I mean, the impact that you want to make on your data. If some data is not the best or something, but you can some way try to bias the audience to see the way that you wanted them to see. Okay, that's interesting. That's why it's not showing results, it's telling a story. If you are good at telling stories, then you're going to be, I mean, in your job, you're going to have promotions for sure. So a good story needs to have, in this order, tension, mystery, the build-up, that is some kind of conclusion, and the payoff. And the payoff is more like results. Let me give you an example. We have spotted that in the midterm exam, 82% of the students failed. Okay, that's why I put the number in red. This is a KPI, by the way, and I put this arrow pointing down to make sure that the impact is stronger. So if I present this to the rest of the professors, they will be like, what? 82%? That's almost everybody. Then I put some mystery. I have spotted that the attendance to class in the third month was below the 25% of the students. Then people start to wonder, what is going on? Are they related? Not sure. Then I want to present some kind of conclusion. We have delivered so much homework in the third month. That's why the people started not coming to class. And that's probably the reason why they are failing. Okay, I put some payoff here. And then the result is that in a small table, I said, professor number one gave 25 homework to the students. That's pointless. You need to change in this month. Okay, that's the conclusion. And this part, you can try to, what you want is to persuade the audience to see your point. If you make it like this, probably everybody's going to agree. Even though this may not be the reason, but at least it's the impact that you wanted to share. Okay? Any question to this point? Okay, so now we know what is a good story. How do we tell the story? Usually, when presenting visuals, we can consider 3 ways of presenting some story. The first way could be a report. In a report, we have a lot of text. If we need to deliver a report, because we are forced to it, try to include visuals. Try to make the text dependent on visuals, and try to avoid much text. Even though it's a report, I know, but try it as much as you can. In here, the keyword is that we need detail. It's obvious that our boss wanted us to share some detail about something. Okay, we need a report. If we don't need that much detail, usually the best should be using a dashboard. Dashboard is a keyword as well that represents, and that, have you ever heard about a dashboard? It's something that's very hot topic these days, and it's a piece of software that looks like this. Like we can, it's interactive. We can touch it. We can take a look at different graphs at the same time, and then we can highlight certain piece of information because we are interested in that, and then the rest of the graphs are going to highlight that piece of information. Let me show you one example that I have here. We are going to talk about this later, but this is, for example, a dashboard. This is a Microsoft dashboard in which we can take a look at the different softwares that they sell, how they make, how much they make, and in which stores they sell it. And this is interactive. If I want to take a look at, I don't know, in the store Leo, what they sell, I click, and then I know they say 1 million, OneNote, Publisher, SharePoint, Kaisaka, okay, right? So this is usually better for situations in which we would like to have some kind of continuous way to share the data. This is not like a one-off. This is what our boss is going to take a look every day. It should be updated. Okay, but this is a dashboard. Wait. This is a dashboard. What we need in a dashboard is to be concise. Super important, because even this dashboard, in my opinion, is not very good. It has too many different plots. It looks super nice in the first sight, but probably if I have to check this this dashboard every day, I will take a look at 1 or 2 plots, the relevant ones. Maybe this one and maybe this one, and the rest I just ignore them. So the first sight is like, oh, super cool, but in general, we need to avoid having too much things. But we will talk about that later. Okay, concise. And then we have a third one, which is not that relevant for us, just for you to know. There exists the infographics, and this is more. This is meant for the marketing. This is usually something that you want to share in the social media, or in a piece of paper, in a flyer. Okay, this needs to be super compact, almost no text. What is the best process for recruitment? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 words, 5 visuals. Perfect. I want the people to remember this. I want the people to remember my business. That's why infographic. So what I want is, I want the people something. I'm pursuing persuasion. Okay, that's why I want in a flyer. This is marketing, but just for you to know. Okay, any question? Any curiosity? Okay. Now we are going to get to the theoretical part, in which we are going to talk about the visual design concepts. This is one theory. I'm going to lecture this theory. You may agree or you may not, but I consider this like the general theory. So, how to create good visuals. The first thing that I wanted to point out is that we should avoid this. We should avoid chaos. Do I have chaos? Always. This is chaotic. This is extremely chaotic. So we need to avoid this. That's the first piece of advice. Is it obvious? Yes, it is. Still, we can find it everywhere. Okay, and you may have found yourself taking a look at some graph like this one, saying what. Okay, if the audience is wondering or ask, what does it mean? Then we failed. We need to avoid that. So first design concept, balance. And here we have 7 different ones. The first concept is that in order to avoid chaos, we need to seek for alignment. Things should be aligned. Try to avoid these kind of things. Okay? This is very usual in the dashboards. No, it's better to have things aligned. I'm talking about bias, human bias now. For example, this is a logo. I mean, it's super cool, like this one. We are throwing the food, but no, this is better. This is more engaging. Second, repetition. You need to repeat. Especially when we are working with graphs, we are tempted to think, okay, I'm showing a lot of bar plots that are vertical. I'm going to put one horizontal horizontal bar plot. Wrong. This theory says this is wrong. All of them should be the same. If they are vertical, vertical. If we need to repeat it, we repeat. Okay. Oh no, this is symmetry. Sorry, this is wrong. Contrast. And the contrast is usually, well, no, it depends on the color. If we want to point out something in our visuals, then we should use a different color. Okay, and it should be very well contrasted with the rest of the colors. Like in this case, like in this case. Is it the same? No. This is much better. Okay, contrast. We need to seek for contrast. Hierarchy. If something is more important than other thing, then we need to show it by making it bigger. If there is a KPI that is super important in our dashboard, make it bigger. I know it's just a number, make it bigger. Even bigger than the rest of the graphs or plots. If it's important, it should be bigger than the rest. Cracking performance. Cracking is a more cracking word than performance. So I put it bigger. Symmetry. The same. We are biased to like symmetry. Actually, some people say that beauty is symmetry in the face of a person. So we need to seek for symmetry. Is it obvious? Yes, but we need to point it out. Okay, like here. Okay, this is much better than this one. Or here. And the intentional imbalance. This is the same as the hierarchy in some way, that we are putting something bigger, but this is more thinking about creating some effect. They don't need to be different, but I want to something that needs to be bigger because I want the audience to think that this is more important. For example, I want them to see it first because I'm going to bias through that way. I mean, I don't really like this one because I think it's obvious that the whale is bigger than the man, but in any case, okay. So in order to avoid chaos, we need to follow balance. In order to avoid chaos, we need to have wide spaces. This is what I said before. We may have a lot of visuals, it feels super cool, but if they provide the same information, avoid them. And I wanted to share with you what a drill button is. Drill means when we are searching for oil in the ground, we drill the floor. Okay, so this is something that some software include, which is the drilling, which is that I can press. I think it's here. Yeah, I can make it bigger, but there was a way to make it more like I wanted to see the data. They put it here. Yeah. So most of softwares include the drilling button. So we don't need to put a table showing the same information as in the graph because we have these buttons, so I can swap it. This is just an advice for you to know. But if you will know this when you get used to working with this kind of software. The drilling button. Okay. And in one page, please focus only in one topic. Try not to have too many things. We can have different pages, different slides. Okay. If we want to avoid chaos, then we should follow patterns. The same idea. We are biased to like patterns. Our brain loves it, so we can use it in our advantage. Always use the same colors if you are if the meaning of this color is the same for all the. Sorry, that was a very weird way to say it. If the one color, I want to use one color, for example, for one business and one color for a different business, then I should keep this color always for this. I shouldn't change it. If I want to use it for pinpointing something like top 3 things, like in the other one, which is the red color, top 3, then it should be always red means top 3. It is obvious, but sometimes we forget about that. Again, same type of visual, bar plots, vertical. If the information is the same, don't change it. That's wrong. And order consistently your bar plots. That is, usually there are 2 ways of thinking. Some people consider that if this is a bar plot, some people consider that this is the best, and some people consider that, I don't know, random, okay? And some people consider this is the best. Choose your side, okay? Both are correct, but it should be ordered. Okay, another thing that we need to follow if we want to avoid chaos is the colors. So it's absolutely key to use colors. You have to do it. But always use high contrast, like in this one. How can we find high contrast? Go to colors.co. And here you can create a palette. Okay? If I press spacebar, a different one. These colors are okay, all of them. Okay, so use it. You have this tool. If my company is blue and I'm forced to use this color, I fix it. And I get colors that match. Okay, you have to do it. What happens? The colors are very useful in general. They could create beautiful plots, but sometimes it's overwhelming. So consider using a monochromatic scale. If you want to use colors for something very important, like pointing the first one, or pointing red color is only for some visuals, some visuals that mean something bad, some visuals, green is for things that are good, red for bad, then the rest of the colors should be monochromatic. Okay, that way we create impact. It's more impactful, more insightful. Okay. Another thing, text. So we should have enough text to make our plots explanatory, but not too much. And later I'm going to introduce something which is the ink ratio, ink to data ratio, but later. So it's important to not to use many fonts. I said maximum 2, maximum 1. Okay, not many points. Always label your axes. Don't forget, always. And the units, always. Super important. Be very concise. One important thing is that text, we are biased to look first at the text. So if you want to include some piece of text like this one, don't put it on the corner or on the side. Put it in the center, some way, because the first thing that someone is going to look is at that. You need to know that bias. Another bias is the first thing that we look, if there is no text, is the left upper corner. Another bias. So important information should be here. This text should be here. So we know perfectly that people is going to look at this first, this, and then they may follow some random flow, but at least you know that. That's a bias. And yeah, that was everything. This could be a good dashboard. This is bad. Unnecessary text. This overhead, I think it's not needed. Oh, okay, I put it. Okay. Another thing. Try to put the labels in your graphs, not out. This is more beautiful. Okay. It's hot here. Okay, that was all the design patterns that we need to know. Any question? Okay. Then, depending on the data that we have to show, we may consider using different plots. I think this is more obvious because you're working with, you know about data science, you have to plot a lot of times. So if we have time series, that is information that changes over time, line chart, super obvious because we can spot the trend. If we share the axis, 2 lines, 3 lines, okay, no more than that. Then it starts to become a mess, and then it's overwhelming. Multiple line charts, sorry, stacked line charts, consider using this. I consider them very useful, especially if you are using Plotly, that you can hide some of them and then you can understand the contribution of each of them. Interesting. And then the combination, if we want to point out some kind of relationship between categorical data and all the data. Okay. If we have categories, then the diagram, this is the old-fashioned, the table, old-fashioned as well. Not the best idea. Maybe for a report, maybe for something very specific, this should be, in a report it could be more detailed, but in general, if you want to put it in a dashboard, not much detail. Okay, bar charts, stack bar charts, pie charts, and tree maps. Do you know the tree map? Have you ever seen it? The tree map, I think I don't have. In a tree map is very similar to a pie chart in the sense that we are taking a look at the area, how much area does this information occupy with respect with the others. While in the bar, we are taking a look at how tall these bars are with respect with the others. In this one is area. So this is 1-dimensional, this is 2-dimensional. Exactly the same as in the pie chart, but the problem with the pie chart is very difficult to spot. We are going to see it later. I have an example. So if, in general, avoid pie charts and tree maps. Much better bar plots in general. If we have geospatial information, especially with Plotly, I know with Plotly it's a bit difficult, but we can show the map. However, only use it if the geospatial information is the most important one. That's very important. If we have, for example, countries with vaccination rates of COVID-19, it's much useful to have a bar plot, in my opinion, with the names of the countries. But to spot where the airports are located in the States, probably a map is more insightful. So just use it if you consider yourself that the map is going to be useful for any reason. And the quantitative data, so if we have numbers, we should use the scatter plot. If the scatter plot becomes a mess, then consider using the box plots. Just a quick recall about the box plots. Median, third quartile, first, minimum, maximum. 50% of the data is here. And sometimes outliers. This is much insightful than the scatter plot, more usually. I recommend this one. Okay. And single measures, KPIs. If something can be explained with a single measure, just use a single measure. In my opinion, sometimes it's a good idea to include some kind of color or arrow to understand what is going on, because it's just a number. Sometimes is it good, is it bad? Not sure. So in this way, I may know better. Some people like to include some historical data, some if it's over a certain, how do you say that, threshold. In my opinion, this is not interesting. It may be. Consider it yourself, okay? But if something can be explained with one number, perfect. And I'm going to give you 10 takeaways related to this information. So this is, I'm going to repeat. Very important, the first one. Who is the dashboard for? You need to think about the audience. The most important thing, probably. Then only include the most important information. If we have a table with a lot of information, but yeah, it looks fancy, we have the names of whatever. What? Sorry. It looks fancy. If it can be summarized in one number, the best. The data to ink ratio. We need to keep this as high as we can. That is exactly what it means. If we needed to print this, how much ink we would use? More than in this one, because we have the grid, we have this yellow thing, red thing, blue, purple, the title, this one explanation, random explanation here. We would use more ink to print this, but the data is the same. So the ratio data to ink is lower here. Consider always trying to have a high data to ink ratio, like in this one. Yeah. For you, we don't need to put it, but when I look at the two ones, the first one, the grid helps a lot to see, like for example, the second pick is above the 50K, for example. It's, for me, it's way easier to read with the grid, so getting rid of it, for me. Yeah, okay, then you can keep it, but what do you think about this $3? Exactly. If it helps, then use it, absolutely. Because that would mean that this has a higher data to ink ratio, because the meaningfulness is also data. So if you consider that is better, then put it. If you consider this text, imagine that it has some very important information, then keep it, definitely. Okay. This is always a thing, always. Round the numbers. I find this everywhere. I don't want to know the cents. Oh my God. We are talking about millions, okay? Round them. Usually we can use also the shortcuts. This could be K, okay? 189K, 2.3 M million, okay? Use it always. This is very interesting. Use efficient graphs. Can someone tell me which one is bigger, blue or red? Is it that clear? Not very clear, right? Which one is bigger? Super obvious. Because as humans, we are good at comparing these sizes, but not comparing these areas. Never use pie charts, ever again. Period. Okay. Group the metrics that are related. It's very obvious, but sometimes we forget. If this is related to this one and this to this one, they should be. We should put them together. Okay. Not because we should put the KPIs on the left and the graphs on the right. No, that's not a good reason why we should have this layout. The good reason is that the things that are related should be closer, okay? Because we want the audience to flow that way. Be consistent, If you are using vertical bar plots, use vertical bar plots. Unless this is a different data, but this data is the same. I'm showing time in the x-axis. Then I shouldn't show time in the y-axis. It should be consistent. Use hierarchy. Okay. This KPI is the most important. So it should be bigger and it should be placed where the eyes go first, to the left upper corner. Okay. We are using human bias. Give the numbers a context. Sometimes text is very relevant. I really like the idea of having this red-green KPIs. I think they are super clear. If something is good, it should be green. If something is bad, it should be red. And then use clear labels, okay, as well. It should be clear with a quick cite what we are talking about. Someone shouldn't ask, what does it mean, the x-axis? Then we failed. Okay. Okay, let's continue. So this last part is going to be very quick. So, and probably you know, we are going to talk about the tools that we can use in Python for drawing, painting, creating plots, graphs. So the first one everybody knows is matplotlib. It's the most common library. It was created around 2002. That's why I guess everybody hates it. I do, at least, because it's very hard to read at the beginning and you need to use a lot of code to create a not very beautiful plots. Okay, but we need to know it. Also, it's very easy to customize. So in that sense, it's a good idea. Okay, but it's a quick one. Everybody knows. Okay. Even well, so it has some features to make it interactive, but however, there are some other libraries that are better for that. So I don't recommend matplotlib for interactive plots. Then we have Seaborn. This is when we want to create this kind of plots, because it's immediately we can have them with a function. So it's very quick, very easy to have data science plots, and in general, 90% of the times we can use it and it works. But if we need to customize it, then it's a nightmare. Okay, so it's, in my opinion, I really like it, but I never use it because of that. You always need to customize a bit. So unless it's something very straightforward, I don't like it. That's why. Then these are some weird ones that I found. Of course, pandas. This is not weird. This is matplotlib embed in pandas. So we call the plot function, and then we have some plots out of the box. Perfect for a quick plot. Then we have plot9 and Altair. I don't know if you know them. I don't. I wanted to put them here in case you find yourself working with this, or at least for you to know. And the most important one is Plotly. I consider this one the best. And the reason why is that it's like Seaborn in the sense that we can create out-of-the-box data science plots, but they are interactive. So that's perfect in my opinion. And they claim that sometimes it's very difficult to customize, but that's because they use Plotly Express. Plotly Express is like Seaborn, but they have a different library, which is Plotly. Adelante, no problema. It's Plotly. It can create maps, as you've seen, even though it's super difficult. And the most important thing is that with Plotly, we can create dashboards. Usually, when we want to create dashboards, I'm going to introduce them later, like the heavy software for creating dashboards, but this is a light software, and it's written all in Python. We don't need to use HTML, JavaScript, or CSS to create our dashboard, because we can use Dash, which is the library that they created on top of Plotly to generate dashboards. So we can have, you should check this, you can explore it in the website, I recommend it, and you can create things like this. And this is in the website, and this is Python. So if you know about Dash, and I like it because usually these are heavy, Power BI or different software that are heavy. They are also, I mean, they belong to big tech companies, so they can do whatever they want with the software, but this is open. So you may modify it, you may pull requests in their GitHub in the end. Okay. And everything is in Python, but this is in the website, so that's why I like it. In my opinion, Plotly has everything. So if I needed to start over and think which library I should use, be master in, I would choose this one. But up to you. And then we have the business intelligence tools, which is what I've been saying so far about the heavy software that some big tech companies use, and they're super famous. Because I know I've talking with students, they are about to finish their studies and they don't know what Power BI is, and this is super hot topic. So I wanted to point it out here in this lecture. Most of the, if you are going to work creating dashboards, 50% of the times you're going to work with Power BI, which is Microsoft, 49% of the time with Tableau, which is, I don't know, but it's very famous as well. I think it's Amazon, I'm not sure. And 1% of the time, QlikView. But you need to know at least the word Power BI. And Power BI looks like this. It's what I showed before. It's software, and we can create dashboards pretty easily because we can, well, this is in Spanish, but we can include more data in a CSV connected to Amazon Redshift, connected to OneDrive, connected to whatever. Is very useful in that sense. And then you can very easily create new visuals. Like I want to add a calendar I have here, so I can, I'm not sure if this is, okay, I think it didn't work because this is like fixed somewhere. Oh yeah. So it's kind of a PowerPoint, but for creating dashboards. And then I can change, this is very ugly, but I can change it to something more beautiful. I don't know, I'm not going to do it now, but you understand what I mean. And a lot of people is working on this. If you want to be a freelance, learn this. I've worked as a freelance doing this because a lot of enterprises and businesses wants this. It's not that difficult. It's super simple, actually. And if you are going to work as a data analyst, most probably you are going to sometime need to create a dashboard. Okay? At least you need to know that, yeah, Power BI. And I would consider spending 1 hour of my life watching a YouTube video about it. Okay. And well, that was everything. So I hope you enjoyed. If you have any questions, you can ask now. We have 10 more minutes. I can show some more examples. I can let you check the tutorial of Dash. I don't know. My presentation has finished, so I don't know. Do you have any question? So in here, this is the source where I took all the information about the Python libraries. That's why I knew about Altair and took the other random ones. So I'm going to share this with you. This is Kaggle. So you have this information with you as well. Then if you want to learn about Dash, which is the Plotly library for creating dashboards, you have here in their website tutorial, 20 minutes. I was tempted to present this tutorial, but I consider this is something that you want to do by yourself in the end. So in 20 minutes, you can create easy dashboards. However, this is not that hot topic as Power BI. So I would focus more on Power BI, even though I like it better, but just a piece of advice. I'm going to share with you this GitHub. in which you can learn more about Dash after you have taken the tutorial of 20 minutes. And oh, I forgot one thing. Do you know what the golden ratio is? Okay, this is the golden ratio rule. This is one thing that you may want to consider when placing your diagrams. It feels like black magic, because apparently, if we follow this rule, in which A plus B is to A the same as A is to B, that's the golden rule, everything seems more beautiful. Consider using it. Okay? I'm going to share with you also the Wikipedia page for you to remember, because I don't have it in my slides. And well, yeah, that's all. Thank you. Thank you.